What's up, y'all? It's your girl Age, and I'm back to talk about episode 2 of the amazing series, KinnPorsche. Yo, the first episode was so full of drama, and we also got to meet many of the characters, as usual with the show, and also the set of how things worked at the compound that Kinn's family lives in. Let me feed the girls. This episode starts off with Big and Kinn showing Porsche the ropes and requirements of the bodyguards at the compound. They can't have cell phones, they can't leave after a certain time, and Porsche was right. It is like a prison. Also, Porsche being the childish person he is, he was already starting trouble, having everyone draw their guns out on him, and he hadn't even been there for, a couple of hours? So this should be great. And can we talk about this compound for a little bit? It is an all-encompassing place with doctors, nurses, a tailor, gun range, cafeteria, guns, weapons storage, pools, living quarters, and a massage place that we will get into later. This is really a compound for a very prepared or paranoid family, which I can understand. I mean, they are gangsters. Porsche gets his room assignment and meets his roommate, Pete. We learn that Porsche is the head bodyguard for Kim, and Pete is in charge of Kim's older brother's safety, who's Tankun, I think I say your name, Tankhun. We also learn from Pete that there are 3 brothers. The youngest is Kim, who moved away from the compound. I wonder why. Pete says that Kinn is the most normal of the 3 brothers, stating that Tankun is worse than Kinn. Suddenly, Big enters the room and tells him that he is needed. So before they could gossip about the brothers, they're interrupted. In the kitchen, when Porsche goes to meet the lady, he is given food and drinks to serve to Kinn and his friends when they're at the gun range. Now, we all know at this point, Porsche believes Kinn is a complete asshole, so he, being the mischievous guy that he is, decides to mix wasabi, I believe, it looks like wasabi, into Kinn's drink. So Kinn is with his 2 friends, and they tell Kinn, ooh, Porsche looks like your type. Ugh, gross. Don't you hate 3 spoiled rich kids? Anyway, let me tell you, Porsche would have been able to pull off the wasabi trick if he wouldn't have made it so obvious that one of the drinks that had the wasabi in it was for Kinn specifically. So Kinn was very suspicious of Porsche's behavior and made him, Porsche, drink the wasabi. Porsche should not have even reacted when he was drinking it. Boy, just fake it till you make it. Don't even make no, just pretend that they had nothing in it even while you're drinking it. But he's so dramatic. Then, while Kinn was practicing his shooting, he made Porsche stand in the middle of the range with an apple on his head, and he decided to shoot it off of Porsche's head. This MF is psychotic, and my ass would have told Porsche to pack up his things and meet me at our escape meeting spot. Then me and my brother, we would have disappeared like a thief in the night, far away from this crazy-ass family. But luckily, Kinn has skills, and he shot it off Porsche's head without blowing his brains out. But this is already like a no for me, this whole compound, this whole family. Then Porsche gets in trouble again and ends up doing push-ups outside as a punishment. He ends up having to pee, and since he doesn't know where the bathroom is, he pees in the some kind of fish pond, like the menace that he is. And I don't know how many times I'm going to say he's a menace, but he is just insane. So Porsche continues his training horribly, might I add, but he manages. But however, he kind of needs a lot of practice because he is trash at a lot of stuff. Then we meet brother number 2, Tankun. Someone killed his carps. The carps is the type of fish. Okay, it's a carp pond, not a koi pond. I thought it was a koi fish, but it's carp fish. And he is livid. The fish are named Elizabeth and Sebastian. Those are the ones who died. And when I tell y'all, Tankun is so dramatic and flamboyant. Like, I really cannot with him. He even smelled pee while he was holding his dead fish in his hand and basically saw Porsche on HD security camera. So once again, Porsche had to be punished. Girl, Tankun put Porsche in a mermaid suit, tail and bra, and made him get in the pool. And then he named Porsche Elizabeth II. Honestly, yo. I believe it was a really clever punishment. Like, these sons have too much control over these men's lives. Like, I could not be a bodyguard for them. I could never work in an environment like this that was so toxic. Like, no. This is giving too much of myself to a job, too much control over my life and my mental. Like, who would want to do a job like this? The money must be outstanding. So later, when Porsche is with Pete, he states that yes, Ten-Kun is way more crazy than Kin. Then Pete tells him that Ten-Kun was kidnapped when he was little and he was really traumatized by that. And that is why he is crazy. Also, that's why Korn, their dad, let Kin succeed him instead of Ten-Kun being the head. Understandably so, because who would imagine Ten-Kun running the compound? And yes, that is my word for the building. They live in, it is the compound because I don't know what else to call it. It has like everything in there. And now I will admit that the gun/weapon area is kind of cool and amazing. When you look at the show for yourself, pay attention to the cool weaponry and technology that they have in that place. And the one who dishes out the weapons is very adorable, isn't the right word. So, Porsche is to accompany Kin to a fancy event, and Kin, when he saw Porsche in the sweats, was like, you can't go like that. So, he gets him some clothes, and this was the first scene where we kind of see Kin start to catch feelings, or really outwardly react to Porsche and his attraction to him, when he is fixing Porsche's tie in the mirror. Now, pause. At this point in the show, we know that Porsche is very straight and he hasn't been with a man, and that's the canon, like book canon. So he, during this time moment, doesn't feel anything towards Kin. He still hates the dude. But Kin, he is falling for Porsche. There is something about Porsche that Kin just cannot shake. At the party, Kin is being a socialite, and Porsche, who is in charge of Kin's bodyguards, tells Kin, Ken, to go guard the door, and he will take care of Kin. Then Porsche, with his irresponsible ass, begins getting drunk off of the fancy champagne, which can only mean trouble because he won't be able to do his job. As we will soon see, he really should have just let Kin guard Kin. Lord Jesus. And that would give Kin, Ken, the hardest job. That's what real leaders do. They offload their work on the lower workers. I'm just playing. Not really. Kin was in the bathroom and this lady tries to seduce him, or so we think. And Kin is like, you're not my type, clearly meaning you're not a boy. The girl is like, you're not my type either, and begins to attack him. Meanwhile, Porsche is drunk as a skunk because he drank like 8 glasses of champagne, like the whole tray. And then when Kin, Ken, comes to ask him, where's Kin? Porsche can't tell him. So Kin says that they have to go find Kin. And we have to admit that it is super irresponsible to be drunk on your job, though. Like, I could see if he was a brothel worker, which he kind of partakes in those activities later, then yes, you drink. But now he is a security guard. He has to make sure someone is safe, and he can't even protect himself at this point because he's so drunk. So Porsche finds the lady fighting Kin in the bathroom. And initially he doesn't want to help Kin. He was really like, I don't feel like dealing with this. But Kin basically yells at him, and Porsche gets the lady away from Kin. But the lady ends up getting away because Porsche ends up throwing up in the bathroom sink. And that is so nasty. And Kin is understandably pissed off. And then Kin is like, everyone wants me dead, including you. And I mean, is Kin wrong? Because Porsche doesn't really care for Kin at all. Not at this point in time. Next scene, we see the woman, same woman, who is beating up Kin, report back to a mysterious person about the new bodyguard, i.e. Porsche. Who is this mysterious person who is testing the bodyguards of Kin and his family? And why is he so invested? So later it is time for Porsche to get scolded, and when he's getting scolded, Porsche really doesn't hear Big or Kin because he is so damn drunk. So Kin decides to tell Big and Kin, Ken, to go out. Some kind of way, Porsche ends up falling on top of Kin, passed out, and we can tell that Kin liked it. Actually, He doesn't know how he feels about Porsche consciously yet, but he's feeling stuff. So the next day, we see some of the bodyguards waiting outside the compound for the Minor family. We got to keep the Minor family in mind. Mr. Kan, Kan, is Kun, who is Kin's father's younger brother. And Mr. Khan is the head of the Minor family. And they meet up once a month with the Major family, who Korn is the head of. We also meet Vegas, the eldest son of the Minor family, and the cousin to Kin, Kim, and Tenkun. A pretty simple family tree. So, while Porsche's outside taking a smoke break, he runs into a kid throwing rocks in Tenkun's carp pond. Because since he got in trouble, now he's protective of those fish. Anyway, so he thinks the kid is some kind of maid's kid, and then they tussle, and, well, not really tussle, but they swat at each other. And the kid ends up in the pond with a cut on his head because he hits his head. And Porsche, he proceeds to taunt the boy. Turns out this kid is called Macau, and he is the youngest child of the Minor family. So Macau does what any spoiled rich kid would do. He runs and tells his daddy, Khan. And when he does, Porsche tries to go defend himself with like everybody in there. And Porsche really has trouble reading the room because he just cannot shut up. So Mr. Khan is like, the quality of the bodyguards and the main family has gone down since Kin started being more of a leader. He was like, they ain't got no manners and they could barely shoot a gun. Like, y'all gotta do better. And Kim was like, I can take care of my men, making sure to keep up with his own reputation and the main family's reputation like he should. Because what we come to find out is that the Major family and the Minor family are constantly like button heads, and the Minor family definitely wants to take over the Major family. So Ken, to show Khan that he knows how to discipline his men, Ken goes over to Porsche, slaps him, and chokes him out. Then he goes to sit back down like nothing happened, and that rendered the whole room silent, including his own father. And that must have shocked the heck out of him because they were all side-eyeing the hell out of Ken. But I like the show of affection. When Porsche wakes up, he is mad at Ken, even more mad than he already was. But Pete lets him know that Ken saved his life. If Ken hadn't knocked Porsche out, he would have been killed by the Minor family for what he did to Macau. If Ken really wanted Porsche dead, he would have shot Porsche himself. So that tells you that he doesn't want Porsche dead. Because like, I'm pretty sure people have died for less than what Porsche did. Because honestly, Ken only seductively choked Porsche out in front of like everyone. So Porsche goes to bring some tea to Ken as somewhat of maybe a peace offering, and Ken says sarcastically, where's the real Porsche? Because he's being so good, question mark, for a change. Then we see that Ken doesn't like the Minor family either, neither does Takun, who comes in the room later, and he is so proud. Takun is so proud of Porsche for making Macau's head bleed. Takun asked for Porsche and told Pete to go with Ken. And y'all, is it weird that they are just like trading people like trading cards? That is so rude. I told y'all this family got too much control over these men's lives. And the most interesting part is Ken lets Takun have quote unquote Porsche. And now Porsche has to deal with the craziest brother and do all of the things that Takun wants to do. But is he the craziest brother? Everybody, y'all. Everybody wants Porsche. And I'm going to repeat that line. Everybody in this show wants Porsche. And it is also evident in the next couple of scenes. Khan asks Kun privately about the bodyguards, and Khan notices that Kun treats Porsche differently than the other people. That is exactly what I said earlier. So later he instructs his son Vegas to keep a close eye on Porsche. Yo, everybody wants Porsche.